Our type comments, please. Johnny might have heard that. Wow. Okay. All right. Thank everyone for coming tonight. It's 7 o'clock, and I'd like to bring our council meeting to order. For our invocation, Councilman Howe.
I'd like to have a moment of silence for the sudden passing of our former city attorney. So if everyone could please bow their head, please. Thank you. I just want to say that, Lord, please help us in making the right decisions for this beautiful town that we live in called Hollywood Park. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Will everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you. Janice, can the record reflect that all council members are present? All right. Now for presentations, we have presenting tonight. Jocelyn, is that going to be brought up in the agenda item we're talking about, number 6?
I guess so.
Okay. All right. Do we have presentations other than Jocelyn's is David Costales here? David, would you like to give us an update, or would you like to give it at the time in the agenda where we're talking about the street project? Come on up. Come on up. Please identify yourself by name and company.
You're going home early, David.
Yes, sir. David represents the engineering firm that is helping us with the next leg of our street project. Thank you for coming.
Of course, my pleasure. I'm David Costales. I work for Civil Engineering Consultants, and we are the city engineer for Town of Hollywood Park. I'm here to discuss the current status of the Hollywood Park resurfacing projects. The current status is that both CPS and Hollywood Park roadway plans are complete. We are currently working to finalize the contract documents, which we'll use to get our general contractor started on the project. But we are advising, and both the authors of the documents we're using and we as our firm are advising that we have an official legal counsel review the documents just to make sure that they meet the needs and requirements of the town of Hollywood Park.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We'll make sure you get that post haste, and we can continue.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any questions I can answer for council?
What about the AT&T and any of the other utilities? Are they giving confirmation they're not going to come in there and do anything yet? Do you have that?
AT&T has no facilities that are in conflict with our mill and overlay.
Okay.
So they're not planning to move anything. I do know of work that's occurring for SAW. They are going to be decommissioning the 2 tanks that are on at 363 Danella Drive. I think they actually front Fleetwood is where the driveway is. But those 2 tanks are going to be decommissioned, and part of that work does include some street cuts on Fleetwood and Danella. So those existing lines, since they're abandoning those 2 tanks, those lines are going to be cut. Those street cuts occur on the northern edge of pavement. So that work, fortunately, will be done before we are in the process of doing any mill and overlay work in that area. So that work, I believe the permit was, or those street cuts were believed to begin in late June, and then I believe that the tank demolition is supposed to begin in July. I'm having a teleconference with both the designer and SAW on Thursday. I can send an email to the mayor and or council, however is needed, to update everybody on the specifics of that work.
Mayor, whose property is that?
I was about to say, I believe the tanks, while they may be the property of Saws, it's on property that's owned by the town of Hollywood Park. Is that correct? So will they cede? Will that allow us to repurpose that property?
I would have to check on who owns those parcels. It's certainly something I could do tomorrow morning. Their intention is to remove both the tanks and both buildings. The communications tower
Yes.
that is present right now, it's going to remain in place. One question I do have for them is what purpose the tower serves. It might be a relay between two different stations. You know, we're on top of the hill there, so it might let them communicate with Thousand Oaks area. But I'll do some research into that, Mayor.
Kelly, do you know anything about that tower? It was originally a radio transmitter tower. I didn't think it was in use currently.
No, I don't believe it's in use. We went and pulled our repeaters out of there, 6-8 months ago, something like that. And I think the tower is just basically a structure now. It's not being used for anything. So.
Are we talking about the one on Rue de Mata?
Yes.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes,
Udamata.
I looked up the 383 Danella, and that backs up to the.
Right. It's behind it.
Yeah, correct. So yes, we're talking about the one on Road to Mata.
Okay. You know, if tomorrow, if you can send me the information on the demolition, the company that's being used for the demolition of the tanks, we may want to incorporate the demolition of the tower, and as well, because I think it was constructed in the 70s. Johnny, do you know if that radio tower was that in the 80s when that went up?
No, it was probably mid to late 90s when that went up. And basically that was being used for what we call Channel 2, which was a talk-around channel for the police department. And since then we've moved on to a different radio system, and it's no longer used. But yeah, it was probably late 90s would be my guesstimate on that.
I don't know how we can assess its value, potential value as a
Johnny, would that be something you want to use for
cell tower.
Horn?
In the
Horn?
past, I have
emergency horn.
somebody come out and take a look at the area for a good place to put a civil alert siren.
Right.
And that was one of the locations. I just, we had actually talked about putting it on top of the water tower and not that tower. I think that tower is too short to get the sound out.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, moving on to our presentations of our fire department, Chief Patrico.
Good evening. For the month of May, the fire department had 46 calls for service. 25 were EMS, 14 fire alarms, 2 hazardous conditions, one of those being the hydraulic spill from the Tiger sanitation truck, and another one being a tree down across the road that we had to cut up. We had 3 other calls, and those others consisted of 2 of them were the fire marshal's office for Bexar County investigating that fire further, the one down in Brook Hollow. So they actually had a case number for us. So really, we never made a call. It's just a case number that was set. And then the third one was a test call. So none of the others we actually responded to anything. And then we did have one structure fire that we were dispatched to. However, it was during a storm, and it was a lightning strike to a house out in the county. And on the way out there, we actually got diverted. Durable Verde had us respond to an MVC for a one-vehicle rollover, which turned out to be their fire truck that was responding to the structure fire. So there were some minor injuries, but no one was transported. So, our average response time for the month was 3 minutes and 52 seconds here in Hollywood Park.
Did you call that an NVC?
Motor vehicle collision,
Oh.
MVC.
Oh, thank you.
Acadian had 24 calls in Hollywood Park, and their average response time was 11 minutes and 6 seconds last month. Now, they did have more than normal delayed response. Anything over 12 minutes they consider to be late. Their regional vice president is aware of the situation, and they're looking at maybe restructuring where their units are positioned so that doesn't happen anymore. That's actually the first time we've had that many late calls in a month. So we're working on that, and I'll keep a close eye on that and make sure that doesn't happen again. May 23rd, we had our yearly state aerial and ground ladder test on our trucks, and they all passed, so all the ladders are still in service. So that was good. On June 4th, we had a station tour here. It was the McAllister Area Cooperative Home Education Group that came, and it was a bunch of neat kids. And for the first time, it seemed like we really had kids that were asking a lot of good questions and were really interested in what we were doing rather than, ooh, you know, a fire truck. So we had a good time that day. That was good. On June 11th, I did take our engine in for repairs, finally in the shop. So we're looking at maybe getting that back the end of this week, maybe the beginning of next week. We should have everything repaired on that truck. Also, a couple of days after I brought it in, they called and they needed our hose taken off the hose bed because they had to get under that to repair a bracket.
Is that for the fuel tank or for the hose?
That was for that rack, the pike pole rack. And so in order not to strip the fire department of all the firefighters that day, I called Kelly, and he took myself and one of the firefighters down there in his pickup truck, and we loaded hose, rolled it, basically 1,600 feet of hose that we had to roll that day. So I just want to thank Kelly. I really appreciate it.
Let me tell you, these guys work hard because rolling that hose is not easy. I was wore out when I got done.
I wanted to give him one of our fire department T-shirts, but he wouldn't take it.
Wow.
On June 13th, Tim, Wes, and I attended an evidence collection and documentation class for arson fires. So we got a little more knowledge on collecting evidence and how to document it and how to photograph it, and arc mapping, looking at arcs on wires and how to figure out where the fire. So it was a pretty neat class. We learned some pretty cool stuff. And on June 14th, the owner of Premier One had a birthday party for his son over here at his shop. So I told him, hey, why don't you bring the kids over to the firehouse? He thought, man, that's going to be cool. So we walked over to the fire station and had a little station tour with his kids. And so that's it. Any questions?
All right.
And this really, in some ways, it has to do with your report. I don't know if everyone read the local about apparently the apartment complex was approved by Hill Country Village.
I was not aware of that.
Oh, and they were talking about trying to decide if they want to hire another policeman. But they plan on taking $44,000 for the first year for a partial part of the tax for this apartment thing. But they're going to give the police position over to Bexar County. So I'm going to guess that they're going to collect some good tax money, but they're going to want our fire department, since y'all help Bexar County do the fires.
As far as I know, that's not in Hill Country Village. It's county, so I don't understand what they're approving there. And
Well, it was something about part of the land is Hill Country, and so I don't know.
I don't believe so.
behind that complex, there was a business park that went in, and Hill
Yeah.
Country Village annexed that.
Yes, with the Arasti, because
Yeah,
they talked
that's
about the
part of Hill
Arasti.
Country.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that property where the car lot was, where we had the fire, is still county land.
Okay.
So I think Chief Pritchard might be able to answer better how that works between Bexar County Sheriff and Hill Country Village responding.
Yeah.
I don't know how they work that out. I think Hill Country would be the first response to that.
Yeah.
In the same way that we're the first response to that right
Yeah,
now.
so I just didn't know if if anybody had talked to you about it or anything, or it's still in the works.
No, yeah, as far as I know, it's still in the works. I know the mayor and I have met a few times with them, but it's been a while, and I don't even know if they closed on the property over there yet.
Okay, thank you.
I read that too, and I noticed, and we weren't mentioned at all. No. They said that the fire was going to be Bexar County Fire Service.
Which is, but that would be us because we cover that county land. So
Yeah.
We're the first responders for that piece of county land.
Right, they're getting money and we're getting the work.
I think that the 40-something thousands for police, is that, it's for,
They just talked about it was a partial payment for tax.
okay. All right, well, good to know. And thank you. All right, Chief Pritchard.
Okay, good evening. So when you have a piece of land that's considered county, even if it's in the middle of the city, the 911 calls or calls for service will default to Bexar County, so they have what they call primary jurisdiction. So they're going to get the first call. They have to defer to someone closer if they can't accept the call or can't make it to the call. Even if it's in a 911 emergency, they get first crack at it. So what happens, and even here in Hollywood Park, sometimes we will back them up on certain calls in the northern part of the county if there's just nobody else available. So what would probably happen is routine stuff, they'll have to bring a deputy down. If it's an emergency, then Bexar County Dispatch would see if a Hill Country person is available to help. But they have primary jurisdiction, and we get the call first, basically. I could give a whole class on jurisdictions. It gets really crazy in Texas. I'm telling you, with constables and sheriffs and municipal and state, and yeah, it gets real hairy. So it's not easy to understand, even for me sometimes. Okay, so in last month we had 254 calls for service. I'm not going to hit stats real hard because I've got some slides that kind of go into a few of these calls. These next couple of months are going to be our busy time of the year. Normally during the summer it picks up for us. We did have 323 citations total. That includes STEP. I do have a slide in here that if you've not been here on court day, I actually captured a screenshot of court day. I want to share that because I want to make sure that you had a good visual representation. When you see 323 citations, what does that look like for Janice and her crew and our crew? So I actually took a snapshot this past court day, so I'll share that with you. So you can kind of get an idea of what that's all about. We did have a burglary of a vehicle and a couple of thefts, and those were addressed in the narrative. And I'm going to show you a couple of slides that kind of break that down. Even though it was just one, it's a very important one that I want to share with everybody. So I'm going to skip over that. So, you know, we could talk about this all day, but I just want to make sure this gets in the sparks and it gets in the minutes. We had a Hollywood Park resident that, although they didn't fall for this scam in particular, I'm going to tell you about, they're tied to this scam. So these guys are in Africa, and basically what they're doing is they're preying on people in America. Our victim is a elderly widower. I'll put it that way. And they preyed on that. And they actually romanced her online to the point where she sent them money. But these guys are, you think, how could they talk somebody into money? These guys are extremely resourceful and good at what they do. So they buy credit card numbers on the black market. They actually sent a lady flowers in Minnesota from a stolen credit card from a lady in Hollywood Park. Do you see the connection? So they used the stolen credit card to buy flowers for a woman in Minnesota who sent them money to buy a plane ticket that they never went and got. So this is a big deal going on right now. If you ever want to read, just Google this. The romance scam is what they call this, and it's huge right now. It's a big thing going on right now in America. So interesting read. So take a few minutes if you have time and look at this story more. Yeah, there's our suspect right there. And in this story, he's talking about how he's got a female that he's talked her into marrying him, and she thinks he's a soldier in the Army. That's how good they are, and she believes him. Because they have fake online profiles too. So that's him. Anyhow, moving on. So this is our burglary of a vehicle I want to tell you about. This car here. So, as you know, Country Home, they have a lot of kids that go here in the mornings, and parents do what all parents, most parents do, including me. We pull up here, we get out of our vehicle, and we walk our kids up to this front door, and we normally leave the vehicle running. It's hot or it's cold, and it only takes just a few minutes to complete that. You get back in your car and you leave. But what's happening is we have a group of individuals, and it's not just Hollywood Park. They're hitting all these places like this Country Home Learning Center, as they leave this vehicle, they park right next to this car, jump out, get your purse, your iPhone, whatever's sitting there, and take off. So that's why when you saw this burglary in your narrative, they took a breast pump out of this car. I mean, who does that? They took a breast pump, a purse, an iPhone, key fobs. So the home that the car also had a garage door opener. Well, they came back and broke into the house later. So that's why I'm telling you, it's very, losing stuff out of your car is one thing, but people coming into your home later is a whole nother issue. So if you're out and about, parents especially, and you're dropping your children off, take a few extra seconds, turn the car off, lock your vehicle. You just have to. I wish you didn't, but you just have to. We did set up surveillance on this for about 2 weeks. They didn't come back during that period of time. We're going to continue to work hard on trying to catch these guys. San Antonio's got the same issue with these guys. We know what the car is that they're driving. It's a black Tahoe with shiny rims, so it's all blacked out with dark tinted windows. So just parents, take note. If you're using this facility or another one like it, make sure you're not leaving your car running, because they're either going to take your car or take your stuff.
It's probably not safe for the parent to tell the child to get out of the car and run in.
Right, because these are
from
little
where
kids.
they're parked.
3 and 4 year olds, right? So that's not going to work. Now this case here was extremely interesting as well. So our detectives worked very, very hard on this case. I'm really proud of them, because these two individuals, this is actual video pictures from Boyd Park. These two guys stole cell phones from kids playing basketball, okay? So we caught them on video. Well, the car they drove, we ran the license plate, and it actually came back to an individual that's not them, but they did a heck of a job figuring out who these two guys were. Well, this thing opened a can of worms. These two gentlemen have an operation where this is what they do. They go to parks, and they distract people by playing basketball while their friends take phones that are laying at the bleachers. Those phones are then sold immediately to individuals that own iPhone repair companies. So you never get your phone back. They dismantle your phone that day, and they get $40 a phone, as many as they'll bring, and they dismantle them and use them for parts to repair your iPhone. I'm not saying this is the company, but like the U-Break iFix companies, that's what these guys are doing. So we got a warrant, and these two guys went to jail. We put them in jail. So I'm proud of that. We didn't get the phone back because it was destroyed. But they went to jail, and we turned them in to what they call ROPE, which is a repeat offenders program for San Antonio that track fencing operations. So we hope that we're going to have some hands in shutting them down. But that was a big deal, and those video cameras that the EDC put in this year, this is a result of that. So I know Mr. Drury's here, so I just want to let you know that camera that was installed this year helped solve that case. So that was amazing. That was great work. So thank you for your help on that. Yes, sir.
Are we able to go and pursue the folks that are buying those phones as well, because
Right.
they were illegally obtained?
That's why we turned them over to, because they're in the San Antonio city limits, so we turned it over to them. But we could do it because it's a continuation of our case, but they got a lot more resources to handle a big fencing operation. But yes, sir, they're going to pursue that. We turned all that over to them, so
Wonderful.
yep. So that was a great deal. Well, there's court day. That's what it looks like in here.
Yeah.
It's kind of grainy because it's off our video system, but that is the lobby, and that is this room right here that you're sitting in now, and it's standing room, and the door is open, and people are lined up down the sidewalk. So that's what court days looks like right now.
Yep.
Yeah, it's busy in here. Very, very busy.
How many handcuffs do you own?
That's a lot. That's a lot. The last thing I wanted to let everybody know is that we did hire a new admin employee. Her name is Frances. I don't know if I talked about this in the last meeting, but Frances was a temp employee for Janice. She's court certified, so she's able to help during court. So we did offer her the full-time job to be the new police admin. She's doing great. So if you hear the name Frances or you need admin help, Frances is who you're going to talk to. And then I just shout out for Debbie and Tanya. Listen, this is Mavis. She's near and dear to my heart. I love this dog. She should be adopted this week, and it takes a ton of work to do that. And we couldn't do it without the Humane Society because we're not set up for that. So they do a heck of a lot of work getting these dogs adopted. I know Councilman Villarreal is involved in some of those things as well. So thank you very much. Appreciate y'all's help. And that's all I've got.
This isn't the one that was on next door
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It is.
today or yesterday?
Not today.
Oh, no.
That was a different one.
Debbie asking if they, that was.
Yeah, that's Diamond. This is a different dog. I've dealt with Diamond before. Yeah, Diamond. She gets
repeat
out.
offender.
Yeah, she gets out and chases ducks on Fleetwood. Yeah, I've put her in jail like 5 times. We have a good relationship. So she comes right to me now. She knows.
Otis.
She knows the drill.
That's great. You may. Would you like to? Come on up, please, Ouija. State your name and your address so everyone at home and across the world can hear your question.
Turn it on.
I've been asked many times, Chief, when someone gets a ticket, say the ticket is, I don't know, $300, how much does the city actually make
That's a
on
great
that?
question. That's a great question. So, what I'll do is I'll try to make a point to bring that pie chart to the next meeting because honestly, it gets split up in about 10 to 20 different areas throughout the state. Our percentage is very small that we get here in Hollywood Park. I'd say it's probably somewhere in the 10 to 15%, Janice, something like that we keep. But yeah, ticket revenue funds many programs across the state. So I'll try to remember to do that for you. But yes, ma'am, about 10, 20%.
And do you get more if the crime, say, is more violent? Like somebody burglarized in respect to somebody getting a traffic ticket?
Right. I wish that was the case, but it's really just, it's a percentage.
Good.
If I'm incorrect, let me know,
you.
Janice. But like if it's a $700 ticket, then of course our take is a little more versus a $20 ticket, and our take is a lot less. So it's really based on the fine amount that we collect.
Great.
But certain offenses have higher fines. Some of our city codes have a $2,000 fine. So it just really depends.
Just to clarify,
Thank
Chief,
you.
there's no
Thank
volume involved here, correct?
Not from that
Just-
picture.
No. Thank you, Ms. Weeds. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Kelly, our Public Works Director.
All right, well, thank you, Mayor. This month has been last month has been an incredibly busy month. We've had thunderstorms. I want to thank Johnny right off the bat. His guys, that tree that blew down, we got it cleaned up, and his guys came across the street. Fire chief and whatever crew was on that day helped me run the chipper, get all the brush cleaned up, keep the city clean. So appreciate that. One thing I really, really love about this place is both Johnny and Chief Pritchard. If something needs to be done, it's a team effort. Everybody jumps in. I can go to Janice, her girls will jump in, whatever needs to be done. So it just makes working here such a pleasure. So, guys, I really appreciate everything y'all do and the support y'all give us. Let's see, we got new pool signs up, new splash pad signs up. I don't know if y'all seen them, trying to get some, trying not to put too many rules out there, but giving the lifeguards something that they can back them up a little bit and let people know, hey, these are certain procedures we need to follow so we're not tearing stuff up.
Could you elaborate on that just a little? I was surprised that one of the rules was necessary because people were bringing buckets of sand from the sand volleyball court.
Correct.
And messing up the filter and the splash pad.
Parents let their kids bring sand over to the splash pad and play with the sand in the splash pad. Well, that kills pumps and filters. The splash pad actually has 4 filters built into it to keep the water clean. But anytime you run sediment like that through it, some of it's going to get through. So I actually had to make a rule that says, look, keep the sand, rocks, dirt out of the splash pad because it tears stuff up. Food's another biggie. I went down the pool last weekend and looked like a box of Cheerios floating in the kiddie pool. There was food everywhere. I've made a rule that we weren't going to use any food, but I've kind of backed off to give people a little room. We're going to try allowing food on the pool deck, just no food near or in the water. If they can stick with that, then we can go that direction. But if we start having an issue where we're getting food in the water, food kills pumps. It's just rough on equipment, and y'all don't want me to have to replace pumps and filters every year.
No.
So I know you want to say it, Mr. Murphy, Mayor Murphy. No chocolate candy bars either. Okay, in the pool. All right.
No Candy Shack.
No Baby Ruth.
No Baby Ruth.
No Baby Ruth. Yeah.
Got new surge protectors put on down at Voight Park on all the electrical systems down there. So everything's protected, and we had a thunderstorm like 3 days later. They actually worked, so this is great. This is going to protect all that expensive equipment we got down there. Back to my reports. You can look, the Voight Center, we did 24 rentals. Up almost twice what it was a month before. May was super busy, June's even busier. A lot of them are, we had 13 communities, that was Hollies and stuff like that, but we still had 9 residential and 2 non-residential. June's had a lot of paid events. July's pretty busy also. So things are just going crazy down at the Voight Center. Lots of people down there, lots of events. I'm probably 3 to 4 times a week I'm taking someone down there and showing them the facility and saying, hey, look, this is what we offer. And people are just excited about it. So that's a big plus for the city, and Janice is fixing to start her marketing program, and it's just going to get busier after that.
Wasn't this past May wasn't the May previous in 2018 like 17, so it was up
Yes, sir.
25,
Yes, sir.
30%?
Code log, we did 40. 38 of them were closed. We have 2 that are open, and the numbers kind of don't really tell the story what my code guy does. Gavin, 40 is the number of new tickets or new offenses that he has to give people notices on. For everyone that he has to give a notice on, he has to go out there and revisit it at least once to make sure it's closed. A lot of them are multiple times. So Gavin is out running around nonstop, just putting in a lot of hours and a lot of time. We've got 2 that are in the court system right now. He's spending a lot of hours on that also. So Gavin's doing a really fantastic job on that. That's pretty much all I got, guys. Any questions?
I do. I have a question.
Sure.
House on Rue Mata.
The house on Road Amata.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
Walking by there the other night,
Uh-huh.
I saw a deer walking out of the house.
I have no doubt, and it's in the court systems.
Is there any way we can board this thing up
As
or
soon as the
force
judge-
them to board it up?
As soon as the judge gives us orders, we'll go in there and do complete cleanup.
And what's the timeline on that?
Ryan's not here, so it's in the prosecutor's. I'm pretty sure it's probably going to the judge next time we have.
I can only imagine what's living in that house.
Oh, you don't want to know. You don't want to even go in the backyard.
Well, and that's my fear is the safety factor.
It's the boulders, the open septic system, and believe it or not, it's not the worst one we've got in Hollywood Park. There's one that's worse.
Can you keep me posted on that? Because that's getting to be a little ridiculous.
I will give you an update as soon as I get one.
All right,
For everyone that hasn't been at the last few meetings, this is an ongoing saga of the Rue de Mata ruin and the deer that are now living inside it as well. Wow.
So that means our deer count's off.
It's in the 500 block. It's the one that's been under construction for
513
ever.
There's the hole in the front yard.
Yeah, it's 513.
513.
Kelly?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you been looking into pricing for the Voight Center for non-residents as to what we might raise those prices to?
We've got some ideas. Janice is actually more on that than I am.
Can we maybe look at that next month if it's ready?
Yes, I've started. We had some prices in the past, but we're updating them because, believe it or not, people have gone up, and so it's my intention to get an appointment with Mr. Howe, and we're going to look over that, and that way we can bring that to council.
Yeah.
That way we can get it because he knows a lot about this kind of stuff too. So that way we can set a price, and once the pricing's set, then we can start the marketing of the Voight. Yes.
Thank you.
Kelly, when you were talking about Gavin, when he gives a citation, he has to go out there quite a few times sometimes.
Yes, ma'am.
So you don't go out there and you give him a citation, then you go back and check, and then it should just be a ticket? And it's done?
Fortunately, that's not the way the process works.
What do we need
Streamlining
to do
some
to
more.
change it?
Well, yes, y'all can change it, and if that's what y'all want to happen, that's what has to happen is it has to be changed. Get with the city attorney, and he has to word it properly. The way the process works right now is he gives a notice, then he has to go verify that nothing's happened, and he can give a second notice, and 10 days later, then we do a civil order, which is basically a ticket. It's a civil ticket. Correct.
Is that enforceable?
Yes,
The
sir.
ticket?
Yes, sir.
And
It's
if they
just-
ignore it,
There's
like
a specific process that goes through. We get the civil order, then he has 10 days to contest it. And if after he contests it, then it can go, if he still contests it, then it can go in front of a judge, and the judge will make a ruling. If he doesn't contest it, he has to pay the fine.
because like the house in Rutamata, he's just ignored everything, correct?
He's ignored everything, and I'm not sure exactly what the proper term is, but basically the city's going to, the way it was explained to me is once the judge rules, we'll go in there and do whatever we have to get the property safe and secure, get the grass cut, get the stuff out of the right of way, secure the house, secure the property. Then we file a lien, and then once the lien's filed, the city can foreclose on the property, force it to be sold to recover our expenses.
And the other one on
Fleetwood. It's the same thing.
Same thing.
They've still got 8 more days, and then we can start the process on that. They get till the 26th.
Those are the two worst in the neighborhood, correct?
Yes, sir.
The legal system gives the owners quite a bit of leeway on.
Well, in the state of
and
Texas,
time,
you know, in the
it
state
seems
of Texas,
like.
homeowners is
Yes.
it's a big deal. So
Yeah. Well, thank you for your attention to that. Anything else? All right. Jeff, would you like to share the financial report with us?
Evening, Mayor and Council. The financial report today, I'd like to start at the front with the summary is, we're still getting some property tax in. We're sitting at $2,600,000. The budget's $2,008,000, but we should be getting monies in all the way to the end of September. Sales tax this month came in at $61,000. It's back up from the 40. I think it was 42 or whatever we had last month, 44. Total at 503. I estimate will be between 750 to 800,000 at the end of this year on sales tax. When it comes to the expenses, the municipal court is over, but that's because they interchange labor with administration and help each other.
Can you move your microphone a little bit closer? Your mic.
Okay.
Thanks. Yes.
How about that?
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. The expense, the municipal court is over. We're at 67% of the budget. They're at 74%, but that is because they exchange labor with administration. If you average the two together, you're below the budget. The other one is fire department, and fire department is over budget because of the emergency expenditure we had for life packs for $21,300, in which we got $18,000 from the insurance, but you can't net them out. It's shown on the other side. It's shown in revenue. If you'll turn the next page, page 35, I want to point out Voight Center is 121% of budget so far, and we're not even close to the end of the year. I've still got a third of the year left to go. And the swimming pool is at $27,000 at this point in time, and almost $22,000 of it just took place in May. And I can tell you there's a lot more coming in that came in the first 2 weeks of June. So swimming pool should be making budget, hopefully, and that's good for the whole complex out there because it allows to have funds to actually maintain it and to improve it. The one I also want to point out in revenue, and I do this every time, but I have to because you only have $7,000 budgeted for interest. You're getting that a month, so your $53,000 is what your interest is year to date. That will probably wind up being about $70,000 to $75,000 also. Okay, so it'll be substantially over budget. And last, I'd like to say the Deer Committee's fund, since it wasn't budgeted, I'll point it out. There's $7,040. It slowed down some of the summer, but that's pretty good revenue that they have this year so far. Other than that, I want to do one thing. Councilman Bailey asked last meeting about an expenditure of $9,072 in building improvements under general government. That is an air conditioner for the fire department.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Janice, would you like to?
Yes, Mayor. First thing I wanted to point out in our reports is on page 26. Chief Pritchett was right. Court is a busy day these days. And the reason for that is we're trying to go in through the backlogs of the last year up to current year and get everybody who's potentially slipped through the cracks and think that they can, they don't have to come and pay their fine until they have to go renew their driver's license. No, we're calling them in. So their failure to appear. And so that's why our courts are quite crowded these days. I think the last time we'll have a crowded court will probably be August. I know we're reporting for the month of May, and we had 462 total cases on the docket. June was very, very busy, aka the snapshot that the police chief took. We had people waiting to come inside here to see the judge in the lobby, so the chief was right. It happened to be an extremely warm day, and the air conditioning here was very, very low, but it was just an extremely hot day, and people were in here very listless. People were getting upset, and we couldn't think of anything to do other than serve snow cones. So we served snow cones. You would have thought that there were 152 7-year-olds in here, because when I came in, I said, "I'm so sorry, I don't have enough bottled water for everyone, but can we give you a snow cone?" And everyone was like, "Yes!" So that was great. And so they may have had to wait a long time, but they were eating snow cones, so they felt wonderful, even the judge and the prosecutor. So that was a good day. Wanted to also give your attention to page 27 and 28 in your council packets. And these are the building permit activity reports. And we've been talking about the pool for the last couple of council meetings. So on page 28, we decided to add pool revenue to this report. So you can see exactly how much revenue the pool is bringing in or brought in for the month of May. So we had $21,810 in revenue for the month of May, and you can see most of them were resident family passes, 104 of them that we sold, and it continues to grow. So I think it's going to be a really, really good year for the pool. We were really very happy to participate in the HPCA poker run, and it was nice. It was fun. I've never done that before. And we had karaoke up here also, and I heard there was Dr. Lemonade somewhere, but we didn't get a chance to get any. But in any case, we had a couple of residents that, they were just great at that karaoke. So will you show them, Jeff, on the one slide that I have? It's a young lady that came and took the mic, and she did a good job.
Oh, we don't have audio, though. That's a problem.
You gotta dance, dude.
Thinking out loud, maybe we found love right where we are.
She was cute, so we enjoy that tremendously. Also want to say thank you to Mr. and Mrs. Hogan. I think they're here tonight. They do that backyard Bible class every year, and it's such a wonderful event. And we had a lot of people call about it this year. So if you'd like to come up and talk, we just want to say thank you to them, because we got a lot of calls this year for their Bible class, and so we referred them to Mr. and Mrs. Hogan.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Thank you so much for allowing us a couple minutes. We wanted to just express our extreme gratitude for your support. This is year number 6 of our Bible Club, which is primarily HP kids, but it's been extended to kids in the area. And we had another 60 kids this year. Yes, we're crazy to have that many kids and try and control them, herding cats, but we really enjoy it. We got a great group of people here from the park that support us. Steve and Linda Phillips here on vacation, Allison Newman, Caress Lyons, Chris and Ruth Funk, Amy Lohman, I'm going to forget somebody I know, and a bunch of great teenagers. One of the great things about doing this for the 6th year is we've had children that were participating initially back in the day that are now coming back to volunteer. They may have friends, they may have siblings, and so the great part of the club is to really try to build unity, build on the community, and we've been very blessed to have great support throughout. And so this was the first year that we weren't in our backyard. So with your great support, we were able to be in the center. And we want to recognize Janice and especially Kelly for their tiring work and dedication. And we've got a few little trinkets here to present.
Oh, that's sweet.
Thank you.
Wow.
So much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Diaz. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We hope to be able to do this for many years to come. At least that's our plan. The Lord may have different plans for us, but Our theme this year was about love. It's about, the verse was, as I have loved you, Christ speaking, you should also love one another. And so at the end of the day, we really were trying to just place in the hearts of the children that, to love one another and build that community in this wonderful town that we love so much. So, wow. You want to say something?
I was just going to say that Janice and the ladies really gave us a snack for the second day, and the kids were so excited. It was such a neat idea to put in that box because they were so anxious to see what it was. They said, is it loaves or is it fishes? And it was fish. It was goldfish. So thank you so much. And Kelly, all the help that you gave us. We appreciate it.
So thank you. Appreciate it.
Wow. Thank you.
Night and day. It was a beautiful facility. I was so impressed. It was really I've been in there for a few events, but to really understand, what the investment has been and what the equipment that's there and how wonderful it is, it was spectacular. So we had a great time there.
And just to let you know, we had a new family, one of many, but this new family came and said, we hadn't heard about this, and one of our neighbors brought our child, and the child said we had to go the next day. And they said they've never lived in a community such as ours.
Oh.
They were very grateful. They thought it was so neat.
Thank you to you and your husband for what you do
So God bless.
every year.
Well, Janice, thank you, and God bless all of you for your provision. Thank
God bless you. God bless you. It's really neat that we have so many events tailored to families and to children, and the Easter and the Halloween and the 4th of July and the school's out, and we can incorporate faith into the family message. It just helps people realize we are a special community. Thank you all for everything you do. Michael, would you like to share anything with us?
No, I don't have anything at this moment. But if you guys have any questions, I can field some of them. Sounds very familiar.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you. All right. Well, thank everyone for attending. It's been an exciting year, and a lot has been getting done, and with David's help, we'll get the streets working, get the streets resurfaced here pretty soon. Hopefully get the RFPs out by the end of the week. And as Michael brought up with the passing of our attorney, that's thrown a kink into a few of the normal rates of progress on things. And Mr. Brennan is indeed missed. On June 4th, I was able to get kind of an update from our Hollywood Park Police Department on where we stand on the wire transfer fraud issue, and somewhat of a summary from the Secret Service as well. And Chief, you want to just take a minute to share your thoughts on that?
I think, Mayor, the easiest and most thorough thing to do is just read our update to you, if that's acceptable. It's not that long, but it's got a lot of information in it, so I don't want to leave anything out. I know this is an important subject, so I'm just going to read what we're putting out officially.
Yeah, we've tried to maintain the integrity of the investigation and not share things, and I'm proud of everyone here for keeping the lid on it for 104 days so far.
Absolutely. When you hear these details, you'll really understand that it's certainly done. You've done a lot of justice in that, and we appreciate it because these cases do tug at the heart, and I know it makes people upset, but there is a process, and there's a reason for the process, and it is for the integrity of the investigation and hope of recovery. So I really appreciate everybody's patience with this process. Just so you're aware, because of the dollar amount and because it crossed not only state lines but international lines, that the police department can only do so much in that investigation. We were more in a support role during this process. So Secret Service did a lot of the legwork, and I just want to commend them for a great job because they are extremely talented at what they do. So without further ado, on March 6, 2019, it was discovered by city administration that 2 unauthorized wire transactions took place on March 5th. One transaction was in the amount of $192,883.31. and the other was $293,883.31 from the Town of Hollywood Park bank account. The police department and the United States Secret Service were notified after the discovery and began a joint investigation. The HPPD took possession of the finance computer and sent the computer to the U.S. Secret Service for forensic examination. Through their examination and investigation, it was discovered that the bank accounts were hacked by an unknown person with the use of a Trojan program called Emotet. Emotet is an advanced malware program used for targeting banking information. Additionally, the bank was hit with what they call a distributed denial of service attack. They did this from numerous internet-connected devices at the same time that the attacker was accessing the bank. It's the belief that this coordinated attack was an effort to cover the fraudulent activities happening here in Hollywood Park. In addition, we revealed information that the attack appears to be originated from the country of Turkey, and no employee of Hollywood Park is suspected in transferring of the funds. The U.S. Secret Service tracked the wire transfers when able to freeze just over $300,000. The remaining funds had already been transferred offshore to a bank account in Turkey. Secret Service, through the Washington, D.C. office, is working on the cooperation of Turkey to reclaim the monies transferred to a regional bank. However, in the past, Turkey is known to lack cooperation with the United States in these matters, hence why they do it where they do it. Legal proceedings with the federal government are underway to get $300,000 plus returned to the Town of Hollywood Park, and we anticipate this to be accomplished in the very near future. So there's a lot more details involving that unless you need me to go into, I won't, but that's the gist of it.
Well, the petition for the remission of mitigation, is that what that was called?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It's a mouthful.
Yes. They say that it should be processed in 15 days, but then I understand it's a 30 to 60 day period at the minimum before we can expect to receive the funds back or something to that effect.
Right. If you can think of it as basically an asset seizure because the funds were an essential evidence in the case, so they were seized by the government, then we have to petition the government and prove a claim to those funds, and that requires a considerable amount of paperwork and legalese to get that accomplished. There's no reason to believe we're not going to accomplish that. It's just sometimes it just moves really slow.
Well, and so that's pretty much where we are as of today from the police and the investigative angles. Now we're at the point where it's the insurer, our insurer, and our banking partner and the Town of Hollywood Park have to work together to try to seek an appropriate resolution of the shortage, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of $185,000. So everyone's been waiting on the work of the Secret Service and the police department, and there's a process. Our banking partner is Frost Bank. They've been around a long time, and they're proud of their reputation, and they're working with us. And there's a multi-step process that's to be followed once we have all the information, as well as our IT provider, RX Technologies, to help us explain how the malware got into the system. There's a lot of moving parts to this, and appreciate everyone's patience and trying to get this resolved, and I'll keep you posted. I hope I have a lot of good news to share next month, because we're slowly getting there. It's been 104 days. I've been wondering when this was going to get handled. So thank you for all your help, and for Clint Bass as a detective and as his hard work on helping get that resolved. Appreciate that.
Yeah, there was numerous subpoenas that returned paperwork, to this degree to get to where we're at today. So thank you for mentioning Sergeant Bass, because he put in hours and days and hours of collecting data just to get to this point. So it's an extremely advanced and difficult investigation, the way this was operated. So I really appreciate the Secret Service and their tools, but honestly, at the end of the day, it took just a lot of elbow grease to get to the bottom of it. So,
yeah, no information on any residence was compromised, and the first, when the Secret Service came, the night that they arrived, and they spent about 6 hours here, their focus was on ruling out any possible issue of it evolving from our office or someone here being involved in it. And so I was very glad to learn that that wasn't the case. So thanks again.
Thank you, Chief.
Now, for the consent agenda, would someone move to approve the minutes of our May council meeting?
I will move to approve the minutes of the regular council meeting and to accept the financial statements as of May 31, 19.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Now for citizen participation. All right, everyone has 3 minutes. Please come up, state your name and your address, and share your views. Robert Henderson.
You've already answered my questions.
Oh, great. Thank you for coming. Mike Drury, please. And thanks again for your help with the cameras at the basketball court.
Oh, well, there's more coming.
All right.
What I wanted to, I'm sorry. Mike Drury, 126 Tiger Tail, and president of the EDC. And what I wanted to do was give the, at the last EDC meeting, the discussion, I'm kind of up here on item number 7 and 8.
Okay.
And if you want me to wait until those items are open in the agenda, I can come back up at that time. I just wanted to, I wasn't on the agenda, and I wanted to, because of the timing of the agenda submittal.
Do you think it'll help what you're presenting if we talk about it in brief before?
I think it'd be better to do it at the time of that agenda item if I can come back up at that time. So I think that's going to be more, just keep everything on one discussion.
Okay,
So,
appreciate you bringing that up. All right, Weech Henderson, please.
Weech Henderson, 303 Rua de Mata, and the treasurer answered all my questions. The only question that I would like to ask is, because the money was confiscated through the bank and sent overseas, is that going to affect paying the city employees or the services?
That's a great question. Appreciate you mentioning that.
I appreciate you, sharing what you can with us.
Thank
you.
You're welcome. I think normal protocol is we accept your comments, but I'd like to say that we're in sound financial shape, and unlike a lot of municipalities that would be strapped and challenged for things like trash pickup and payroll and whatnot,
Sure.
I'm glad we're not experiencing those issues.
That's a blessing.
Yes,
Thank you.
indeed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sherry Tyner.
Sherry Tyner, 228 Mecca, and I hate this. Just officially let it be known, public speaking.
I wasn't sure where you were going.
I just hate being
Where the
up
hate
here.
was.
Yeah, public speaking
Okay.
is not my thing.
Oh. Yeah.
Speaking is my thing, public speaking not so much. But I'm here to speak on the sunshade down at the pool, and my current understanding is that we're talking about putting a 60-foot long, 14-foot wide sunshade along one edge of the pool, and I think it's a fantastic idea. I think it would help a lot during the meets, which I know is not the primary function of this, but I think it would allow us to have some extra shade up there, because we always put our tents up, and that would allow us to move those around a little bit more and shade the kids better. I think that during the major events, it will help a lot for the kids, because when you're out there that long, you're going to get toasted, and you're not going to realize it's happening. And it'll allow us to
Oh, no.
okay, to have a...
It means a good idea.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, it'll just allow a little bit more versatility down there as well. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to swim
That
practice
wasn't
now.
so bad. That wasn't so bad, was it?
I hate this.
Oh. Brett Finley, please.
Good evening, Mayor Murphy. My name is Brett Finley. I'm actually speaking on behalf of the San Antonio Board of Realtors in regards to the city's proposed sign ordinance. I'm going to go ahead and just read our official public policy statement, the official response that we have as an organization to the proposal, and then I'll stick around, and if y'all have any questions for me at the appropriate time, I'd be happy to answer from our position. Our organization, on behalf of our 11,000 realtor members, we do appreciate the time that City Council has taken, specifically City Attorney Ryan Henry, who is not here in attendance tonight, and have devoted to drafting this ordinance and acknowledge the city's efforts. Identifying the maximum standard size and duration restrictions set out for temporary real estate signs. They do obviously take into account, and y'all are realizing the importance of not only real estate signs, but also just any sort of commercial signage on private property, most specifically. However, we do have some legitimate concerns in regards to the use of commercial for sale and for rent signs in regards to those being placed on a homeowner's private property, and feel that this measure is a little too restrictive for an owner's private property rights, which is as an organization we feel very passionately about. Real estate signs, they do provide a flow of truthful and legitimate commercial information. A required permit and fee imposes limitations on residents from showcasing information that we feel is vital interest to not only the consumers but also to the community at large. The ordinance will have an impact on one of the most important decisions that citizens have a right to make, and that's where to live and ultimately raise their families. As the cost of owning homes continues to increase, not only here in Hollywood Park, but across greater San Antonio, it's going to continue to remain a challenge, and we feel like homeowners are apathetic and they are willing to pay fees as long as it's consumer friendly and it's deemed as reasonable. In this instance, though, any fee or taxing structure implemented should not place an undue liability on homeowners or hamper the continued economic growth for the residents of Hollywood Park. Employing this approach to sign regulation will likely result in negative outcomes not desired by the community with regards to this regulation. SABRE believes there are unintended consequences also associated with the one-size-fits-all approach of regulating commercial temporary contractor signs that are laid out in the ordinance itself. Treating all content-based commercial signs the same will force homeowners to fill out an application for a permit and ask permission from the city to legally place, say your son or daughter participates in a youth sports league, or if you have a home security company that you would like to place on your property, you'd actually have to go ultimately to the town and request a permit and permission. A new sign ordinance can successfully achieve all of its intended goals without unfairly mandating signs which have a minimal impact on the community's established interest in sign regulation. While City Council needs to ensure that rules and guidelines put in place are narrowly tailored to achieve the municipality's interest in the safety of its citizens and the integrity of its neighborhoods, we urge you to reconsider the adoption of this ordinance at this time in regulating specifically to not only our private property owners' rights as a homeowner, but then also to real estate signs specifically with regards to that commercial messaging. Understanding, obviously, this ordinance relates to content-based. It is tricky. We certainly want the city to get into compliance with the 2015 Reed v. Gilbert Supreme Court case. We're just asking for y'all to reconsider, go back to the drawing board, and make sure that private property owners are not unfairly penalized by some of those unintended consequences that are passed along. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Bruce Griffin. Graham. Sorry, I know you.
I'm going to take my 3 minutes. I'm not going to say nearly as many words as that guy just said. That was very good and fast. I wanted to say that I am for the sunshades at the pool. I would also like you to consider additional shading. I call them sun sails or shade sails that can be strung from the building that's by the splash pad over the pool to some of the light posts that would provide areas of shade above the pool so that you can be in the pool and not be being blistered at the same time. I've seen those in many different pools, and it's something that can be seasonal. You can put them up for the summertime, take them down, store them so that they're not out all year round. The other thing, I'm not really sure what you're talking about, the resurfacing issues, but if you're talking about that, if any of you have a golf cart and you've ever gone down El Portal, every 100 yards you go through a road cut that knocks your teeth out. And I've came down, I guess, Mecca just a minute ago in it, and there's a few there. So I don't know what these cuts, I guess they're utility cuts. I don't know if it's basically the pothole patch, I think, would work, even though it'd be a long, skinny pothole. I guess that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate that. I know. Well, with respect to that, with the street cuts, that was what David was referring to, talking about CPS and saws and timing our resurfacing of our streets to follow the application of new pipes or removing the pipes when they're taking out the water tank. And so that because anywhere there is a street cut, a couple of years later, it always sinks, and it creates a depression all the way across the street, and it's almost unavoidable. But thank you for bringing that up. Appreciate that. You bet. Good night. Going on to new business. Item number 1, to discuss, take possible action to appoint a mayor pro tem. And typical process would be for someone on council to nominate someone else.
I would like to nominate someone. I've been it for at least 2 years, and I am so exhausted from being mayor pro tem. So I'm going to nominate Michael Howe.
All right.
I second that.
Do we get all the benefits of the mayor?
The same package of
Same
perks.
benefits as the mayor.
Yes, that the mayor gets is part of the mayor pro tem.
But I will tell you, it's
Secret
exhausting.
Service.
The security detail,
Got it.
round the clock. Yes, yes, indeed. All right. So we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Congratulations, Mayor Pro Tem. All right. Item number 2, discuss the progress of the banking RFP. I guess we have issued an RFP for banking services, as we are required by law to do every 5 years, and the ads have gone out. Is that correct, Jeff? And last week, I believe.
Okay, the ad has to be up before you can put it on your website or anything. So that was put up June 10th, okay, because we had to make changes in the actual RFP for dates and items like that. And the deadline will be at 2 o'clock on July 5th.
All right.
At that point in time, they will be brought in. I will have a matrix because there's points assigned to the answer to the different questions and different ability to the bank. And we're looking for some council members who might want to be on the actual rating committee, or whatever you call it, the rating committee that's going to rate the banks.
Yes, really, this is an important 5-year decision going forward, and so we need 2 or 3 council
Yeah,
members.
you know there's some banks that have been interested, but what I was going to do is actually get the request for proposals, put them in my car, and go to the banks that are around here and actually give it to them, so that because it can get lost when you're talking about the paper, the newspaper, and the public notices and items like that. So I was going to actually just do it, and I was going to do it on a equal basis, so nobody can accuse of us choosing one beforehand to give it to. So all banks in a certain area, they actually can do city work. I was going to take the RFP to them, and they can make their choice whether they want to do it or not.
If 2 council members would be open and willing to help in this process, I'd appreciate that.
I would volunteer.
There you go.
All right.
No, you too. Yeah, go ahead.
Just so you know, you don't have to be here and we all do it together. Okay, it's going to be where individually, because it explains the points and stuff, and that way it needs to be separate so that there's nobody trying to change another one's mind, items like that. And then we get together and we say this is where it is, and we total it up. You do not have to pick the one with the most points, but it'll tell you where you stand. You can really pick any one you want.
Does it matter if I have 30 years of banking experience? Does that kind of disqualify me or anything?
Yeah, it'll help.
Oh, okay. I just
Do you own a bank?
I sold it.
Okay. Expertise could actually prove helpful. Well, thank you for your involvement. All right. Janice, can the record note that Councilman Hall and Councilman Howe will be helping in this?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Item number 3, we're going to discuss the progress of the RFQ for legal services. And I think we have completed the paperwork. Have we been able to?
Well, it's in the packet on new business topic number 3 on page 77. It's pretty
77.
straightforward, but I do have some questions for the mayor and council as to how you would like to proceed. Because if you will note on page 82, it speaks to the timeline. So it depends on how quickly you want to move on this. If the proposal meets with your, with everyone here, and there's, if you want to make any changes or what have you, they can be made tonight so I can post tomorrow, and I can start accepting questions to the proposal immediately, and we'll go through July 5th. Okay, we'll be receiving the qualifications and proposals until Monday, July 8th, 4 p.m. And then we need to pick a date and time in which you would like to have the proposals opened. Now, to have the proposals open, we can even do it at 5 o'clock on that Monday or Tuesday. That's not a very, a date that we all need to participate in, but I can always open them at a certain date and time. But my question to the council is, how would you like to review the proposals and select a finalist? Did y'all want to have a special meeting to do that? Did you want to have a committee named like you just did for banking RFP and have 2 members of the council and the mayor select, 2 finalists or 3 finalists, and then you could interview them at the next council meeting? They could come up here with their proposals and speak to the council, and then at that time you could decide who you wanted to grant the contract to, and so forth and so on. But specifically, I'm looking for a date that you all would be comfortable on reviewing the proposals and selecting a finalist.
I think the sooner the better.
I like the timeline that you presented, where if the qualifications and proposal deadline, I think if everyone's had a chance to review the RFQ and are comfortable with it, if we did honor the deadline of Monday, July 8th at 4 p.m., if everyone can meet later that day or the next day, the 8th or the 9th, then we could have a refined list of folks we could invite to the July council meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And then we could make a decision from council in a special meeting following that.
Okay.
So
Is that an executive session? Is that where we discuss that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, and I mean, so we're looking.
The 8th on a Monday, the July 8th.
The 9th, I'm flying out to Atlanta.
Yeah, the 9th is not good for me either.
Yeah.
But
So the 8th would work.
Okay, at 5 o'clock. Okay.
5 o'clock on July 8th. Is that
Now
what
you're
saying?
having the fawn count that day from the deer committee.
You're right.
Oh.
You're right.
Okay. That
Now,
won't
I
work.
will say the opening is not so important.
Isn't the
It's
fawn
just
count?
showing that we're opening the. But what was going to be important to you all is to review the proposals
Mhm.
and select a finalist. And you can have a special meeting for that, or have a committee responsible, whatever you'd like to do. So how about the 10th, 11th, 12th? It would just the next week. That Tuesday is a council meeting, so I'm trying to get you to have.
I'm out the 9th through that Monday. I get back the 15th. I'm in Atlanta.
Are you back in the morning on the 15th, sir?
It's probably around 9 o'clock. I get back at night.
I don't have to go to the deer meeting, though. I mean, I can go.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
it's more important than that, honestly.
Okay.
Just for, you got somebody sitting over there. Okay. There's nothing to say to that.
I mean, okay, wait, so, wait a minute, though. I mean, there is something important on the
You're going to
deer
be voting.
agenda.
Yes, you're going to be voting. You're going to have the deer count. Remember, you were going to meet here, go have the deer count, and come back and vote on some issues.
Well, the meeting starts at 6, and then we were going to have the meeting and then go do the deer count at 7. I can miss the deer count, but we're voting on the finance thing, and I want to make sure it passes.
Well, Mr. Howe won't be here that day either,
Oh,
though.
I leave Tuesday.
Okay, so you'll be here on the 8th.
I will be
Okay.
here.
If we basically would be refining a number of potential.
Well, I will tell you what. I have it down here that I will be accepting the proposals on Monday, July 8th. I can say I can accept the proposals on Friday, July 5th. So if you would like to meet earlier in the day on the 8th, we can do that also. That can be switched. So I can say I'm accepting all proposals and qualifications on Friday, July 5th, and then on Monday, the 8th, you can have a special meeting at any time, whatever is convenient for you.
At 4 o'clock, would that be?
That'd probably be okay,
Would that
right?
work? Can that work for you, Scott? On
4
Monday
p.m. on Monday, July 8th.
at 4 o'clock?
Can everybody
At
make
4
4
o'clock?
p.m. July 8th?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'll
Okay.
schedule a special meeting at 4 p.m. for Monday, July 8th, to open up the proposals, to review them, and you can select a finalist at that time. And then when you want to interview, it's always to be determined at a later date, and complete negotiations to be determined at a later date. So that's fine.
And the 16th is the council meeting in July?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay. Gotcha.
So where do
decide-
you send this? Do you post this, or
Well,
what do you do with it?
Since this is for legal purposes for an attorney, I'm not required to post it. I'm not even required to go out for RFP, but I think it's a good idea that we do. So I'm going to go ahead and post it on our website. I'm going to go ahead and post it on our bulletin board, and I'll also contact other city secretaries and city managers, and they can filter out to their.
I talked to Alamo Heights on Friday, and they're in the process too.
Yeah.
I think they got like 10 back or
Yes,
something
they're
like
in the
that.
process also, yes.
So I guess we'll probably get the same people.
I'm sure.
I have a
Thanks
whole-
for putting
Are
this
we all right with
together.
that,
I
Mayor,
think
then?
we've got a good working plan.
Okay.
Appreciate everybody's cooperation on that. And then moving on to item number 4, to discuss, take possible action to approve the Hollywood Park ordinance on sign regulations. I think, with respect with Mr. Finley and with previous discussions that we've had and that I've had with Ryan, we were going to postpone making a decision on the sign ordinance until we can make.
Yeah, I would
clarify.
actually, I was going to request that we table it, but I want to go back to the drawing board on it. I have tried my hardest
With other questions.
to like this. I mean, the first thing that came to us, they were governing, if you changed your house, the house numbers, if you wanted to change that, you had to come down and get a permit for it. If you wanted to hang balloons, you could only have them 9 feet tall, and they could only be up for 48 hours. And I mean, there was so much crap in there, and so we got rid of so much of it, but it's still horrible. It is an ordinance that creates problems where there are problems that do not exist right now. And it is burdensome to residents, to contractors, to real estate people, to Janice and her group. I mean, coming down here to get a permit and a license and pay fees. Why? Why? And then at the end of the day, we still can't put signs out there. If you're having a garage sale, you can't have like little directional signs telling, this is where you go, open house signs. You can't do it. And so this is a terrible ordinance. And if our sign ordinance is out of compliance, then let's tweak it to make it in compliance. But to do all this stuff, it's a horrible ordinance, and I will never support it. So I'd like to table it tonight and forever and go back to the drawing board.
I would support their opinion on the flotsam and jetsam aspect of it. I think, and I was paying more attention to signs that I'm noticing in the neighborhood, and some homes are more secluded and less accessible to the public than others. I live on Dinella, so I'm on the main drag, and everybody goes down my street pretty much to go anywhere else. But some of the homes on Sky Forest or some of Rialto, some of the other streets are hidden, and so I'll see an open house sign, and they'll have to do a teaser a block before or at the intersection before, and the little triangle signs, and I don't want to make it that restrictive or uncomfortable or awkward for those people to be able to show their homes. And I would agree. I think we need to take another look at it.
And to have to go get a permit to put a for sale sign in your
that's
yard.
just adding more work for administration, which is ridiculous.
There's no reason to have 23 pages.
I think all
of
that
signs.
really
If they
needs to be
don't have
done.
a permit, they'll come to court, and we've already seen what court looks like.
Yeah, I think all that really needs to be done is to just to get in compliance with the new legislation and go from there, not just rewrite the whole thing and like Debbie said, just add all this unnecessary stuff in there. It's just too much.
If you guys want to tell us what you want, we can make it however you guys want. It's whatever you guys.
Ryan's, I would echo that. Ryan's expressed a willingness to offer us a version.
Give you guys a shell, basically, and
Yes.
for you to par down wherever you need to par down, and we'll do it.
And then if we reach a point where we need to add a section or something of tailored to one type of issue, then we could. That's kind of what he was describing to me. Appreciate that. Yes.
I don't think we have to motion if we're
Just let it die.
We just don't do anything.
We discussed it, and we're not going to pass it.
All right. Moving on to number 5. We'll discuss take action on a resurfacing project. Okay, David, you shared an update on where we were on that, and I'll work with you this week on making sure we've got the approval on the stages for the contract papers. And
Turn the mic.
Yes, sir. I'll contact you. We'll work through those through the dates that we need to set, much like the RFP, or I'm sorry, the RFQ for the any attorney services. We'll need to advertise 21 days before we can open bids. So you and I can work out the calendar and make sure that we have legal counsel on the contract documents, make sure they're all in line, and we can set that advertisement date.
all right, thank you. I'll figure out what to do with that tower, that transmission tower, maybe. And yes, thank you. All right, Jocelyn, would you, hey, thank you for coming. I'd like to share, discuss, and take possible action to approve a contract, provide water aerobics for our swimmers at the Voigt Pool.
I'm Jocelyn. I am a fitness instructor. I grew up in Hollywood Park. I have lots of friends that still live here. My parents are still in the same house that they raised me in. I just spent 4.5 hours mowing their grass and cutting their bushes last Monday, so it didn't look like the haunted house on Rutamata. So you're welcome. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, I have been teaching group fitness for 12 years. I teach a water aerobics class at Gold's Gym. Currently, I left Gold's Gym where I was exclusively teaching because I didn't feel any kind of upward growth or potential or room to actually feed my children for the next several years. So I started my own business. It's Jazzy J's Dance and Fitness. I currently teach a cardio dance fitness class, Pilates, stretch classes, and that one water fitness class still at Gold's Gym. But I would love to have the opportunity to expand my class base to offering water fitness classes in other areas, and I thought Hollywood Park might be a great place to start. So there's the information in front of you. What I'm proposing is that I'd come here a couple days a week and offer a class, and it's my current demographic at Gold's Gym. Average age is probably about 60. But that doesn't mean that people that are in their 30s can get a great workout, and people that are 13 couldn't get a great workout, or people that are 85 couldn't get a great workout. So it's a no impact form of exercise, and it's fun. And it would utilize the pool more. Questions? Yeah. Please. On the page, I had proposed that it would be like 11:30 or noon or something. I currently teach in the mornings at Dance Studios. I rent space at to do my other fitness classes. So timing-wise, it just worked out that I could offer something around lunchtime. I could look at a schedule and see if I could squeeze in an evening class 1 or 2 days a week, but I'm not really sure how sustainable that is after school starts because I have 2 kids and there's kind of a hard stop at 3:30 in the afternoon when the bus shows up. So I'm flexible about days and times for at least the summer. I'd like to keep it going if the pool's available and usable for more than just in July and August and maybe September, and if it stays warm enough, October.
And how much of the pool do you take up?
It depends on how many people show up. I mean, if 3 people come up, it's not very much pool space at all. But if I can get a class of 20 people, which My class is at the Gold's Gym Rogers Ranch. It's 25-meter pool. I believe that's like half an Olympic pool, right? 25-meter pool, that's what the park is, right? We take up 2 lap lanes. But my vision for this is a deep water aerobics class, so we would all be on the deep side of the pool where the start blocks are. And I usually teach in the water, but I jump out of the water to show stuff when people are confused. You wear in deep water aerobics class, you wear a buoyancy belt or a flotation belt. And then we use some equipment like pool noodles and things like that to provide resistance underwater.
So your class would be during pool hours. It wouldn't be like before the pool opened or after the pool closed.
It's my understanding right now that the swim team is kind of occupying the pool before it opens. But yeah, and I was just at the pool today at that very time, and there wasn't a whole lot going on there. So I didn't think that it would dramatically impede on people that are there for recreational purposes.
Some of them might want to participate.
Exactly.
I think it's a great idea. The only problem that I see would be, impeding people that have paid pool passes. And, if I could just see a parent saying, they got 3 or 4 kids there and the kids are being run off by your pool class, that's going to create an issue.
Yeah. So when I was there this afternoon, there were 4 moms with their kids in the baby pool. And myself and one other child was in the main pool section, and never once did we go very deep because my kids can't stand that deep. So I don't think I saw a kid there over the age of 9 today for 2.5 hours that I was there. But I'm not saying they wouldn't come.
Johnson, I have a question. When you have your water fitness class at the other location, and you said the average age was 60 years old, what time of day do you do that?
At 9:30, 9:45 in the morning.
Because I noticed before I moved into Hollywood Park at our other pool, it seemed, and I call them bobbers, okay, because it looks like they're floating a lot and doing their exercise.
Hey, don't judge.
I understand. I found that they like to do it early in the morning, get it done with.
Yeah.
Okay, and I don't see a lot of activity happening, early in the morning, and I thought maybe this might be something good for the senior citizens or seasoned citizens that have nothing else going on that would like to get fit. And so I was hoping we can probably try to work something out in the morning hours on something like this.
I am teaching 5 days a week in the morning right now.
Right.
So 11:30 was sort of this, I could probably get there by 11. But that was pretty much I am just packing the schedule. I started personal training at a different gym at 7:20 in the morning, and I wrap it up and I roll my mic out the door and pack up my fans in my car and my yoga mats, and I'm done at 11. So I could put this and put it on the schedule. I get it if it timing wise, it doesn't feel like it's going to work. This was just my kind of I would love to expand this business. I love teaching water fitness. I thought it'd be really cool to get people off the couch, the bobbers off the couch and into the water. But if you don't think the timing is ideal, I mean, my current schedule is kind of non-negotiable because I have 75 members coming in and out 5 days a week right now.
I'd like to see if you can get, people that are interested.
Is there any way you can get a feel ahead of time to see how many people, or whether you put something out? I mean, what do you go start this program and you got 5 people or 3 people? Is there any way you can get that out in the open to see, is there a need or is there a desire for it ahead of time?
Other than my personal Facebook, social media, Instagramming, I don't, is there any way you guys can assist me with that feel? Like put out a little mini survey? Is there kind of a Survey Monkey thing that goes out to residents? It's something we're considering. Click here if you're interested.
We have
I don't have access to the residents.
Right. We have an active community association that might prove helpful. I love the spirit of the idea and the flexibility that you provide, and that you don't need a certain number to make a class. And we could even limit the high end if we needed to limit the number of participants. The class is full, so it would avoid a situation like you were describing, Scott.
Is this something that we even have to get involved in? Didn't we talk about this a year ago or something? And can't people give lessons there? They can give swimming lessons and stuff there. So, and with us getting out we're not involved in that, and like with the tennis and stuff, right? I mean, there's nothing. Is there anything to stop her from going and giving classes?
That's what I'm asking.
The other thing is, okay, if it's a 60-year-old group, will they be pool members?
Well, I believe in her proposal, I mean, when we met with Scott, there were some other things that were discussed, possibly about how much was being charged, what percentage might be even given back to Hollywood Park for using the pool, and for non-residents as well as, residents. So, and especially some of the older citizens, I don't think, if they're not members of the pool, but they want to be able to do some physical fitness, I don't think we should be slapping their hand, hey, you got to be a member, when they can be going through her class, But I do think there was some other discussion too about working something out.
Going to your class may make them want to become a member, and
there you go.
Then they can join the pool. Well, that's why we're starting. That's why we invited her to come now, because it would initiate after they're done, which is right in the middle of July typically. And so, if the launch date was, if it was expected to be like sometime in August, say, or like that when the swim team is done, I love the idea of offering residents a way to get some fitness and have fun and extend the use of our pool, because with the water heating system, we can go deeper into the fall, and it'll be comfortable into October, November, and I think that's a neat thing. And yes, Kelly.
If we go deeper into the fall, how do we do lifeguards? Or are you Red Cross certified?
I'm not, but I know CPR, and I carry liability insurance.
I mean, is the city's insurance, where does that stand on being able to get people in the pool without lifeguards? Would be my question.
I don't know. I feel like we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I don't think there's anything. But if you're giving lessons, I think that they do need to be members of the pool or have to pay to get in. That's how others do it, right? If someone's having swimming lessons, they're not getting in for free. They're paying to get in, and then they're having swimming lessons. So I would think it would be. Oh yeah, I would think it would be the same. Where if they go to the pool, then you can teach them.
And I think you're right, Councilwoman Truman, because I remember having a conversation when we had this a year ago, maybe, I guess, about swimming lessons. And you may have to check with you all, the attorneys, but I remember Mr. Brennan saying to me, if somebody wants to go in there and give a lesson, they give a lesson. If you can't regulate that, it's none of your state. In other words, Janice, stay in your own lane.
Yeah. As long as they're.
Isn't the pool closed down during the summer? When is the pool closed?
Labor Day. End of September.
Okay. So we would have to open it after that.
We'd have to. That's some of the stuff that has been y'all have talked about in the past.
And then that affects the swim, the maintenance.
Yes, sir. That is correct.
But in the meantime, she could do it until the pool closes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't we offer a discount for seniors on the single pool pass?
Yes,
so
yes,
was it like 60 or something?
I think it is something like it's
for
less than
for
$100 for an individual.
Oh,
It's
but for an individual.
200 for a family. It's 80 for an individual, and it's 65 for a senior. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm not trying
Thank
to be
you.
rude.
Okay,
I
good for
literally
you.
just purchased
Okay.
pool passes.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I like the idea. I'd like to see it.
I'm all about this being a win-win for both of us. Like, I want to be able to build my business, but at the same time, I get that I'm not going to get anything for free here. So if I have to give up a percentage of what I'm taking in to the city, I get that too.
But that's what I'm saying is you don't have to.
But my question about that swim lesson piece is, I am a member of the pool, but are you saying that the people that are teaching swim lessons in the pool, little Susie Jane that walks in to take lessons from Mary, who's a member?
Yeah, they have to pay
Theoretically,
too.
she was a member too?
Correct.
Theoretically.
Yeah.
That way the city wouldn't be involved in any way. You could get as many members as you wanted to. And
What was your
we can work
comment,
on
Mike?
liability insurance and make your money.
And you can post it on Nextdoor.
There you go.
Not all of them.
But that's a nonprofit, right? Am I wrong? Is that a profit?
No, it's a nonprofit.
That's probably why.
Yeah.
I know that today I was down there, and one of the lifeguards was giving swim lessons. It was a side job, and the little girl that was giving swim lessons paid to get in the pool so she could have swim lessons.
Like her $3 drop-in fee?
Correct.
I'd like to find a way we can do this as simply as possible for the benefit of the residents, and float the idea, no pun intended. And,
But in the meantime, get out there and do your class.
yeah, we could help promote it with the website.
And you can go on Nextdoor. A lot of people go on Nextdoor. You can put it there. You can put a little. You can ask if they, put a blurb in the Sparks or something, the newsletter.
Just a question, any issues that you may arise with your members, your teaching, they would remain your issues.
Got it. Is that what you're asking me, or you're telling me?
And that's where what Debbie said is
we're out of it.
we don't even need to be involved in this because we don't.
But if we're out of it completely, we're out of it completely. So if an issue arises with the member,
Michael has a comment.
Yeah, I would look into that, and I can get back to you guys. I'm kind of unsure of how this would work if you were just to go there and teach lessons. But I feel like it's something that I kind of need to look into just to make sure the city's okay with having these lessons.
Okay.
I'm good with it as long as the city's not liable in any way, because you're the one making doing the business.
You would probably have to have. I mean, you would know this more than anybody, but you would probably have to have releases signed if you're,
I have
holding.
I have all of my members sign waivers, and
not just to cover you, but to cover Hollywood Park.
Okay.
So I go into that, talk to Ryan, and come back with one of you guys.
That's a great idea.
Thank you.
Make sure everything's on the up and up.
And if you're talking to them, because we have people that teach. I'm just saying, they teach tennis lessons on our tennis courts.
Yeah.
Too. So we'd like to know.
Yeah, I'll look into that and give you guys an answer.
Would any council members like to help kind of pursue this so we could have something more definitive at the next meetings? We could. Well, if we're going to help promote it, if we were going to use our website and or Nextdoor, we're staying out of that.
Yeah, just contact Holly.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
We get in it and we're in it.
Okay.
Do you want me to check? We'll check back with the attorney to see what they say, just to be
Yeah.
competitive.
Because
and then we can.
So we don't need to make it complicated.
No.
I love that.
No, you
This is
go
great.
do your thing. As soon as the attorney
So
says it's
just
okay.
so I'm clear, someone is going to follow up with me.
I'll get your contact information.
I'll follow up.
It's on that paper.
Yeah, we have it.
You have
I
it?
have it.
Okay.
We'll follow up.
But can we also find out from you exactly what you find out? And then
Yes,
just-
if
okay.
you want to have to meet with you
Right.
and talk to you about it.
You can maybe even just email us all and let us
Right.
know.
We'll let everybody know
Okay.
because you have to know anyway.
I love that. Yeah, I think.
And then I'm 100% responsible for anything that happens during the time of my class at the
Once
pool
we find out
setting.
from the attorney what you can and can't do.
Yes.
Yes, then we'll find out.
And advertising everything and bringing in people. And if they're a non-resident, they can come in with, or if they're a non-pool member, they can walk in with a pool member and pay their $3 to get in
Yeah.
the pool as a guest.
However they get in the pool, however they get in
Yeah.
the pool.
Yeah, I think
The rules that we have. Yeah.
these are the existing procedures. Thank you.
Thank
you,
you.
Jocelyn.
I do have
Appreciate it.
Oh.
When were you planning on starting?
As soon as I hear from you guys that I can be in that pool space.
Except the swim team has the pool
Well,
until
the pool
what,
opens at
11?
noon.
Is that right? Or 12?
11:30
11:30.
Yeah.
And that's through June, right?
through the
July-
end of June.
End of June.
Yeah,
So
like July-
if you're doing it
We're
at
almost at the end of
if you're
June
doing it at 11:30 or 12 o'clock,
Right.
No.
No.
And the pool opens to everybody at,
I think the swim team's at 11:15 and the lifeguards open at 11:30.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
okay.
I don't have the
And
pool
there's
calendar
a
in front of
calendar
me.
on our website also.
I saw
This is
that.
great.
Good deal.
Yay.
Okay.
Thank
Hey.
you, Jocelyn.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate that. All right.
Look at that. See?
All
I already
right.
picked up my first client.
Yes.
He's a bobber.
All right. Well, thank you. That's why we wanted you to wait to talk to us during number 7, the next item on our agenda, Mike. To discuss, take possible action to approve use of venue funds for sunshades at the Voight Center. All right. Please come on up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jocelyn.
Thank you.
Okay, again, Mike Drury, 126 Tiger Tail.
Now what?
The what I wanted to do is some of the people on this council were at the EDC member meeting, and they kind of the EDC is very much in support of shade at the pool, and I wanted to clarify only a portion of the proposal got approved or whatever by EDC. I know that y'all are considering the whole thing, but I wanted to kind of explain some of the issues. Let me see if I left this. After the meeting, first of all, it was I was surprised by the request. I mean, I wasn't aware it was coming, and so until the agenda came in, and so really didn't get to think about it much. And after the meeting, I sent Kelly an email and said, would you consider taking just a little bit of time, like a month, and see if we can drive an upgrade on the project? I think we could get more support from EDC and do something. We have a $7 million asset down there at Voight Park, and I think that we ought to, if we're going to do shade structures, do it as nice as we can possibly do it. And we had done a shade study that I shared at the last meeting, at the EDC meeting, but I've enhanced that based on some of the feedback from the meeting. So what I want to do is give you all, these were just some images. These were just offline images that I sent over to just showing, and I'm not saying any of these are what we're suggesting. I'm just saying that it's just talking about tensile structures.
Yeah, thank you.
Just and kind of how many different things you can kind of do with these things, and I just wanted to, when we go putting structures out there at this project, I wanted to be sure that we're doing something that's creating the best shade scenario that we can. And so on this, go ahead, and these are just images, just to kind of get the discussion going with Kelly. And then but then the next slide is the beginning, I think, of the, is that it?
That's the last one on this?
On that whole, yeah, go to the next one.
That's the same. That is on the Voight Pool Project Shade Inspiration.
Okay, what's the next, so do the,
Acoustics, Voight Park Pool.
yeah, do that. Yeah, okay, that's it. Okay, go ahead and hit the next one. You just need to click on the, yeah, there you go. Okay. Okay, the next one. All right, pause there. So what this was is this was a shade study that our team did that shows, and what I want you to do is watch the shade for the pavilion, and this is the existing umbrellas, and notice the shade all along this fence line. There's shade all down the fence line. When I go to the pool, the problem is that all those tables are reserved. That's where all the shade is on this fence line. And so all those tables are reserved, and so you end up sitting out in that open area out there, and there's no shade out there. So the current proposal, you'll see in a minute, doesn't really address that. It's all the shade is still on this fence line. So go ahead, next image. And watch the shade also on the pavilion. The pavilion, the pavilion area is 1,000 square feet. The shade is almost 2,000 square feet of shade at this point. This is at 3 o'clock. And these are the structures existing still. So go ahead, the next one, and I'll try to get through these quickly. This is in the evening, like 5 o'clock. What happens is everyone moves over to that, and everyone starts hanging on that corner of the pool as the shade hits the corner of the pool. So at this point, the pavilion shade, that giant swatch of shade, is getting utilized by the pool at this time of day. But everybody moves over to that side, and they leave these shade structures that are along here, all those umbrellas that shaded the edge, they're now starting to be unshaded at this time of day.
This is at 6 o'clock, right?
This is at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
So keep going.
I'm sorry, it says 5 o'clock.
Yeah. And so this is the same setup with existing, just showing. Go ahead and kind of pop through them. This is if you added umbrellas. See what just happened to the pool, to the little kids' pool, and these seats over here. If you just added 6 or 8 umbrellas, there's also a davit in the pool. Tucci, I know, makes umbrellas up to 16 feet. So do you take the one embed umbrella on the pool and just upgrade it, and what can that be confirming with the pool group? That's just a question. Can there be one really big umbrella in the kids' pool? Because you can see how much more shade it produces. This is a 13-foot shown, but they go up to 16. So the next image, this is the proposal, and you can see right now at this time of day at 3 o'clock, you get a pretty good patch of shade on the pool, and you get pretty decent shade on the seating on that side. And the next one. And then this is, 5 o'clock in the evening. Again, everybody's moved over here. All the seating over there where we have the new shade structure, there's really not any shade on any of that seating in the evenings.
Where, in the back?
Yeah, all the fence line, it's not shaded in the evenings with that shade structure because of the sun angle. And this is a July 4th setting. So this is what it would be like for July 4th. So what this was saying, and it's not an intended design. It's just saying if you just took some kind of tinsel structure and did something where you did like 3 poles in the planters, and each pole had 3 triangular forms on it or something, and kind of create a wave across the pool. Look at the children's pool, how much shade it's getting here because you're getting the shade all on the garden side of the pool, and look at the kids' pool, how much shade it gets. And then over in the other pool, you'll see on a different view how much even the other pool's getting from that. So, and also I just want to keep focusing on how much shade is on this fence line and walkway that's very valuable shade right by the pool. And that's what I've been, if we're going to go put money into a shade structure, can we take that money, $60,000, $80,000, and deploy it into another pavilion on Voigt Park to where there's a shade area, and give this pavilion to the pool so we can just use that shade that we already own? So, and the beauty of that is the shade on the fence line is just for those tables. If it's a pavilion, it's used by everybody. It's far more versatile use. So I'll show you in a second. And that's really truly not my intention of this slideshow. I'm really trying to show if we're doing this shade that we just approved, should we do just the 2 squares, or should we do something a little bit more elaborate and spend a little more money? That's what this is about. So, and then this is 5 o'clock. You can see everything starts shifting. So these are looking from. This is that same concept, but look at the shade on the edge of the pools. Both pools, there's a pretty good patch of shade on there. That's the larger umbrella.
That's what we have now?
We have a 9-foot umbrella. This is a 13-foot umbrella, and we can go up to a 16-foot if we can confirm that the davit can take it. There's a hole in the pool.
The anchor?
Yeah. Okay. But I think we probably can, as long as it's collapsed at, high winds. Oh, this is just a late evening time. Yeah. And then this is kind of showing the difference of what something might look. It's the same image, but dropping down and showing how it could be more interesting with shade structures out in there versus just 2 rectangles over the pool. So it becomes kind of like the swim team's deal, or it's the colors from the swim team or something like that is an idea. So the other thing is, when the shade is back on the side, on the back, the shade structures kind of further out isn't quite as claustrophobic to the pool area, because now the yard is still more open and you're not quite as, it's not quite as pinched down. So that's just, I'm not saying this design, I'm just saying, does it warrant a little bit of stylization, or should we stretch these vendors to come in with a little more enhanced proposals, knowing that there's funds available for consideration? Because I think we could spend more money than's being talked about on this. It's important enough. So that's kind of the thoughts there.
Right.
Oh, wait, I missed one slide. I'm sorry. Go back. I told. The very last one, or next to the last one. I think it's in there. Okay, try one more slide. Is that it?
Could it be another?
Okay, go back to the card, because it may be on a different plan. It's in your packet. Look under the wave-inspired plan at 4 o'clock plan. Is this one on there? Okay. Well, let me, Scott, let me answer your question.
There it is.
Look at
Isn't it right here?
That was blank. It didn't come up. He just threw it together. It's going to have 15 minutes before I came over here. So this right here, there's a high berm up here on the top. This is the parking lot. This is the tennis courts, and this is the basketball court. This is 1,000-foot area, which is the same square footage as the pavilion portion of this. Okay. And so you could do it with the same shade structure, or you could do it as a structure. The nice thing about this location is you could put a gate right here, coming off the tennis court straight out to it. You could come to anyone that parked here could come to it. Anyone who wants to play, but you're right here with the basketball. Delane did it in the meeting, expressed concern about having something right by the basketball court. But what I'm thinking is you need shade for basketball players, because I was watching a bunch of guys out there the other day, and they're all sitting on campus and tennis players are sitting there. So both these groups need shade.
Hey, Mike, do you address the entire council?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, I was hoping everyone was hearing that it's a small enough crowd. I wasn't trying to leave anyone out. I was just answering his question. So at the end, if you look at your wave-inspired shade, there's like a pavilion spot. It's just a placeholder down here at the top. And if you all go out there, go up there on top of that hill and look down into the park. It's a pretty neat spot. And if you could do something up there. Now, developing something on here because of the sprinklers, I have a solution with Sonterra that kind of solves that. We can overspray onto their property, and the aerobic, we have a certain amount of spray, and we can take our 180s and convert them to 360s on the electrical easement and easily get all the land we need for additional development.
We're completely off topic here.
Yeah, we are.
I think
it's a shade. I mean, it's a shade-related topic. So I'm just trying to answer a concern that could be that's been raised on that issue. But anyway, if the that's why that's not why, but it was discussed to support the 2 shade structures at the children's pool. We'd love to see lots more shade, and I just want to make sure we're spending our money in the best ways. And you know, and if we need to spend more, let us know. So,
all right.
Anyway,
thank you.
Why did y'all turn down when he asked y'all for the other shade? EDC said no.
Well, it just, we didn't think it was thought through enough, and I think I kind of proved it. When we didn't have the shade analysis on it, and I think we proved that it loses its shade. A lot of that shade falls into the landscape area.
Mike, we've been discussing the Voight Center and the park for a long time.
Yeah.
We're in June, getting ready to go into July.
We just saw this
It's okay.
proposal this week. I didn't know it was
We
coming.
haven't done shade, we've done nothing. And
All right.
I'm not interested.
I'm gonna step in. I want to thank
We're very interested.
you for bringing that. I think on a long range basis, a separate freestanding pavilion and additional shade structures could make sense in a long range plan. I think right now for this summer, for
5 umbrellas did exactly what the shade structure that we just approved accomplishes, and the entire fence line was already shaded.
oh great, okay. I think then if we can accomplish what we need right now with what was approved last week and what Kelly's got information on, and have a quick.
EDC approved funding for 2 shade structures up to $14,000 for the kiddies pool. So we have a resolution on that. I believe if Janice said it has to be read twice. Am I correct?
Yes, so the council would have to read it.
So we have to read it that and then get y'all to vote to approve that what they've already approved. And then after that, I've got some information for more shade, some of which Mike covered, some of which he didn't. I gave y'all some information on that, and I can address that at that time. So I guess, Mary, we need to read the resolution and make a decision on that to start with.
Where is that in my packet?
Here it is right here. Do you want me to read it? No, it's
Page number.
Oh, okay. Debbie, please go right ahead.
Yes, okay.
Number 7.
And we just read the top part, right? Yes. Okay. A resolution of the Town of Hollywood Park Economic Development Corporation authorizing the 2019 kiddie pool sunshade project within the Town of Hollywood Park and authorizing expenditure of funds for the 2019 kiddie pool sunshade project.
Okay.
That it?
So she put not to exceed.
Yeah, I mean, you can go into the amount that's been approved.
What was the 14,000?
Details on the third page? Or, I got you.
The now therefore?
Yes.
That part? Okay.
I mean, you can just make a general statement that this project is not going to.
Okay, the project's not going to exceed $14,000.
You can make a motion.
That was the motion. Right?
Okay.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Oh, wait.
I just want to point out that this is for the venue funds. It's the venue fund, which is the tax fund, not the EDC.
Wait, no,
Oh,
this is the one,
no,
this
she's
is the
reading
one
the
for the
resolution for the
sunshade.
EDC. It says
For the EDC. The next one is for the venue fund.
Right,
It says
the
EDC.
sound
Just read
structure.
EDC.
This
Whatever
one.
was spent on the EDC or by the EDC would directly affect how much would be spent from the venue funds. So this is just the EDC's a resolution to give money.
The next one is through venue funds.
I would just, ask if it needed to be on the agenda. It's a resolution. That's a lot of things.
No.
Okay.
Did we have a second, Mayor? I didn't hear.
Yes, Delane had a second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're asking if EDC can give us $14,000.
For the sunshade.
Yeah.
They've approved it.
For the kiddie pool.
They've approved that.
But the council seems a little confused with what?
So the council has to
Michael?
approve the expenditures over $10,000. EDC cannot alone approve an amount over that. So they approved the project the last meeting.
Mhm.
This would be the council approving the funds in excess of 10,000, so 14,000.
So we're
It's
echoing.
It's 14,000 just to put that one shade in the kiddie pool. Is that what
It's
it-
two, right?
Actually,
Is it two that
that's
comes
what
over?
EDC approved 14,000. I've got a bid from a second vendor for the same thing at, let's see here, for 10,320 from a second vendor. So he's going to do it for almost $4,000 less. And it's 2 shade structures. It's 2 12-by-12 cantilever shade structures that reach out over the pool 12 feet, one from each side.
You were at that meeting.
I know.
This is just for the kiddie pool. One that reaches
I
out
thought
on
there
each
was
side like
one,
this.
just one over at the kiddie pool. I didn't know there was two.
There,
Right.
we're going to put
I'm
them in
looking
the
at it
beds.
here.
In the,
Yeah.
right there, there's 3
We'll
beds around the
relocate
kiddie
the
pool. 2
one.
of the beds we're going to use to reach out across.
If you look at the play the core proposal at 3 p.m., that's the 2 shade structures over the kiddie pool.
Okay.
And look at the shade, where the shade is of those 2 shade structures.
I have a question. Is the goal to cover the entire pool area?
No, sir. The goal is to get some of the people come to me and say, we want more shade. Mothers say we need more shade in the baby pool. We like shade along the edges, so when our kids are playing in the pool,
They don't burn up.
We're not frying too. So this was a very.
So how many square feet are you talking about, and how many square feet is Mike talking about?
This is the shade structure
what-
that they approved.
What EDC approved was 2 shade structures. If you look at this packet here.
Yeah.
2 shade structures, 12 by 12 shade structures, cantilever.
EDC approved.
They approved
The funding's been
funding.
approved. Y'all are voting to.
EDC did not approve EDC approved the funding for 2 shade structures.
For the.
And you brought the 2 12 by 12s. What
Yes.
I've done since is shown an illustration to show what the shade's doing. One of the shade structures at 3 o'clock, the shade misses the pool. In the location it's proposed.
Currently.
Yes.
Well, it'll be on the edge. It'll still provide shade. It just will be in a.
But you need to get it on the south side. They need to be, it just needs some thought on where they're put and what they are, because
Okay.
they're missing the pool. And this is the proposal that was given, and I went and put it in the system, and it shows, and it doesn't even hit the pool. So that's what I'm saying. I think it's worth looking at it, to be sure we don't go spending money on these structures, and then find that all we did was shade the rocks next to the pool, which is what's happening. Look at
Right.
this,
So,
3 o'clock.
I'm going to suggest we get back on topic and get back to the resolution.
Mhm.
You guys are going to approve it. You can approve it if you're.
So if we approve it, can the location be
Yes.
changed to
Approve it.
do what you're saying?
Approve
that
it
you're-
pending final approval of the
The
location.
EDC just provided funding.
You're just approving the funding.
Mm-hmm.
I can get with a contractor. I'm bringing you out there. Scott, you can come out there. We can figure out.
Yeah, I mean,
what
if
y'all
we're
think
going to
is the
spend
best
money on
place.
this thing, let's make sure it's put in the right
No,
place.
no,
I
and
don't
I
want, I
agree.
don't want to shade grass or shade.
I was down at the pool at 5 o'clock today.
Right.
I had to when just getting these measurements for y'all. At 5 o'clock, the shade that was from the pavilion and from the pool was what he showed for 3 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a couple hours off. It will provide shade. If we need to tweak it, turn it a little bit, adjust a little bit. These are cantilever shades, so they reach out like this. So once they're put in, but if we want to turn them this way or this way, so they provide more evening shade, that's not out of the realm. It's very easy to do.
Okay.
Well, got to remember the summer solstice doesn't start till the 21st, so.
There we go.
I was down there this weekend, and over at the baby pool, there's one little umbrella which dropped some shade, and everyone was like huddled under it.
Right.
It needs more shade.
Yeah.
So
so the motion was
So
raised
y'all
and
wanna
seconded.
approve this?
You guys want to approve the expenditure?
What I'm
provided
hearing
we-
is we're approving the expenditure, but we're not approving the actual
location,
structure, or the contractor that's doing this yet.
approving the expenditure provided that the location.
Because it's over $10,000.
Yes.
Correct.
Right.
But we don't have to accept this proposal that's in here from these contractors. We're just approving the money.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so
I have to do an RFP for that?
No, anything under $50,000, we don't have to do an RFP.
She moved that we approve it. It was seconded by Councilman Hall. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. The motion carries.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I didn't hear. Was anybody opposed? Was anybody opposed?
Nobody opposed.
No.
I just want to make sure we are putting it in the right place. I'd hate to spend
definitely.
14 grand and
I'm
it's not going to keep shade.
Right there with you.
I definitely agree. I mean,
I think Mike made a good point, and I do think going forward there could be some options that could really embrace a lot more things in construction timelines and whatnot. But for for right now when it's hot and it's sunny, I think this is a smart use and an appreciative application. And then we've got this part addressed. You want to go on to the second part?
The second part, if you look at your sheet, I did a little spreadsheet, laid everything out for you. The proposal is to put a 14-foot cantilever shade structure that reaches over the fence between the volleyball court and the pool, 14 feet, 60 feet long, 8 feet high. That, in turn, will allow us to move the umbrellas that are currently being used in that location and disperse them out across the pool. They're mobile. People can put them where they want to use them at, and that is going to almost double the amount of shade that we have in the pool area right now.
The umbrellas that are in the center of the tables?
They're not
Or
in the
they're
center
not
table.
centered, but
No, they're just on their own weighted bases that are mobile, so we can move them around.
Gotcha.
I've talked with a couple contractors. I've actually met with them. One of them said, if we get this approved and he gets the deal, weather permitting, he can have this done by the 4th of July. He's also come in drastically under any of the other prices we've gotten. And those are the ones that I've got laid out in front of you. Texas Custom Exteriors is willing to do the 40-foot or the 60-foot shade structure. It's going to be $12,970. There's 2 existing shade structures there. They're 10-foot squares that we can relocate. We own them. He said he'll relocate them for $2,100.
Oh, that's right. Okay, gotcha.
Looking at either relocating them over on the beach entrance area. There's 2 beds there. We could put them in there to create some shade there. Or we could relocate them over by the basketball court to create shades for the basketball players. Whatever y'all as council decide you want done is the direction that we're going to get done.
Does this Texas Custom Exteriors total $15,070 for the 2,100 relocation and the $12,970?
Yes, sir.
Is that?
Well, I'm totally in favor of putting more shade out there, and I think that you've got a good proposal, and I think we should do it.
I think it's needed, and if Mike's plan or something like that can be done going forward, these could still be relocated by the tennis courts or the basketball courts, or they could.
We want something functional too. It doesn't. Swirly things out. We need something functional. We need people are begging for shade out there on the deck.
I like Mr. Graham's suggestion from earlier about putting some sail structures in there that can reach across, that we can set up and take down. These are great options, but it's June. July's coming. They're saying 100 degrees by the end of the week. It's going to be hot.
Yeah.
We are in South Texas. It's been 100 degrees.
Yes, sir. So that's why we're trying to get some shade in here now instead of, let's put this off another month and do another study, and let's put this off another month and do another study. We need to get some shade in here.
Would someone like to move that we make a decision and go forward on the proposal that Kelly has shared us for the
This can be
additional
funded out of the venue fund
shades
also.
using the venue fund dollars? Would someone like to move to make that decision?
Well, I would like to move to do that.
I second it.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
What's the motion?
The motion was
to
to move to utilize the proposal from Texas Exteriors
through the
for
venue
the
funds.
$15,070 for the 2 large shades and the relocation of the other shade, the shades that will be supplanting, and
to take
using
it out of the venue funds.
using the venue funds, existing venue funds, to cover the purchase, and with the goal of having it done by July 4th. And that was seconded, and we had 3 in favor, 3 councilmen in favor, and 2 opposed. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
All right, so that motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then number 8, discuss take possible action on Voight Center Audio, Acoustic, and Technology Improvement Project. Mike, did you want to?
Yep.
Thank you.
On this item, I met with Kelly just briefly with Tom Sims down there, and what Kelly provided was a proposal that had 60 acoustical panels for the ceiling, and I think it was 18 2-foot by 8-foot acoustical panels that can be finished that the owners can refinish to meet the interior decor for the walls. And
are the ceiling panels like the ones in place, Mike? Are the ones that
we don't really know. They're just rectangular panels that are and so what the question that I raised to Kelly afterwards, there's several issues. One is I strongly encourage that it get run through the architect and structural engineer of record. You know, if we get a big snow and the live loads of that roof, it's an open span roof, and just be sure that we're not loading. And I know those panels aren't very heavy, but 60 of them accumulates, and if you add that to a snow load, is the engineer underwriting that? And all I'm suggesting on that is that you get a letter of certification from the engineer. And so you'll need to pay some fee to do that, but I would do that. The other thing is, and if you run it through the architect that designed the building, you're also going to then address any fire protection issues that may have been a consideration in the building design. I don't even know if the building's sprinklered. If it's building sprinklered, it's certainly an issue. Even if the building's not sprinklered, there's material issues that can affect the fire rating of a building, and it could affect the insurance. If the building was to burn down and it was full of panels that wasn't part of the original design, it could affect a claim. So I'm just throwing that out there for something to. The other thing I wanted to suggest was that the EDC suggested to just take it in phases and do just ceiling only, and but there's all kinds of systems, and I'm not even suggesting any of these, but there's so much out there that you can do within a ceiling that becomes more random. You have 6 big chandelier lights that you're doing a pattern there's a pattern being done at a vendor's discretion, and I just encourage that whatever it is, there's some systems that might, and I'm certainly not suggesting these colors or anything, but you could do a more random solution. You could do different sizes. There's things you can do that make it kind of go away and make it work with the lights that are there. So I asked Kelly to go back and get each of the vendors. There's 2 vendors in discussion, and I asked them to get reflected ceiling plan proposals from each of them and what different panel sizes that they suggest. So that's the thoughts. I'm going to leave it with you, but versus just approving a 60 by 60 panels and a 30 or an 18 wall panel solution, I just encourage to get a little bit more. You have, again, a very valuable asset, award-winning, as Delane mentions, and it's, I'd involve the team that designed the building on these solutions. So, and I'd probably do the same thing at the pool.
Thank you, Mike. That's some really good ideas.
You know, do you know if there's a sound studio or a lab that can demonstrate the effectiveness of different types?
Yeah, all these groups. I mean, San Antonio Sound and Light's one of the proposals. They do that.
They have
but there's acousticians that you can hire, consultants that do this. But you probably don't want to pay the ticket on that. But there are consultants that do acoustics. I really think you can do a panel or some kind of a system and do it in lifts. I don't think it has to get that refined. This is, it's not like
that's my question is.
Studio. We're working with a California group right now that this guy, I just traded emails today, he's doing a sound studio. And it's like, I can't even understand what this guy's talking about. He did like Whitney Houston studio and he does all these people studios. But it's, there's people out there, but I don't think we really need that. I think we just need something that works with the architecture. Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you, Mike.
no.
Thank you, Mike.
No, thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
So the reason I had this on here was I was just going to give the council an update on where we stood on this. We're getting more information from EDC, and I agree with Mike. I think this needs to be done in phases. I think if we do it all at one time, we don't know what we're going to get. We don't know where we need
Or
to
if it
stop.
works.
Right.
Exactly.
You know,
So-
yeah, it's like on one hand, if we just keep putting little things up and trying to improve it a little at a time, we may not be giving a vendor enough incentive to try to make a big difference. You know, and it's as tricky as sound is. It's like.
Well, I think the biggest thing here is affecting the aesthetics of the building itself. I hate to put all this stuff in there,
correct.
and you walk in and go, "Wow,
That's
what
ugly.
happened to this building?" Just for a little better sound.
Yeah, burlap sacks like in the Freeman Coliseum.
Well, and Mike brought up some good, thoughts about, fire protection, all these things that will come into play that nobody thinks about. I think we really need to think long and hard about this and make sure we make the right decision and start small and see, because you don't know what you're going to get.
Right. I asked the pastor of our church. I said, why are the acoustics so different in our community center than they are in our sanctuary? He said, the pews, they're upholstered. All the rows of seats break the sound up immensely.
I mean, really, that
That's-
building is just a big warehouse with a concrete floor and glass windows. I mean,
I
that's all
couldn't
you,
figure out why it was so different because it's almost the same. It looks like the same material the ceiling's made out of as the sanctuary at St. Thomas on 1604.
So, Kelly,
that
is
was
the
what I was told.
Are the current right here?
We need a bunch of pews.
The current panels up there right now, those be removed?
Yes, they can be removed.
Okay, they serve no purpose.
No, they do. They have
They help a lot.
a lot.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
the panels Mike was talking about, Mr. Sims from EDC had one of his.
There's 34 now, right? There's 34. I
think it's 36.
36, and he's talking about
Mr.
more
Sims
than
brought
doubling that.
some of
Or
his
almost doubling.
contacts from the sound industry, and they came in and did a sound study. They're the ones that came up with the suggestion of all the acoustic panels. The ones I talked to was nowhere near. I mean,
As complicated or what?
well,
Not as 60.
it was not as in depth.
Okay.
So they did a much more in depth study.
I mean, we're not recording albums in this building.
No, it's just so you can hear. And that's why I suggested, okay, and like Mike said, let's do the ceiling acoustic panels and see what we've got. We get to a point where we don't need any more, we stop.
I'm surprised how few people really want to hear me anyway, what I'm saying. So that's not really an
Karaoke.
issue.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Exactly.
So this was just basically just to update council so y'all know where things are and what's going on.
Am I the only one that sees that there's an agenda with the EDC and the Voight Center? In his thing with the swimming pool, he shows you how much shade the pavilion has. And he knows he cannot take that fence down because now no one can use the pavilion. If
We're
they-
okay there, though, I think.
No,
We
but
were-
it goes on. I mean, we've had this meeting with the EDC, and we've talked about things that we want, and when it gets brought to us or whatever, he comes up with all these reasons why not. It's like he does not want to work and get things done for the Voight Center unless we do the whole package. If we take down the fence, if we let you watch TV on the back patio, if it just goes on and on and on.
It continues to be a challenge. I'm pleased that we've gotten the shade issues resolved, and I'd like us to thunder on through with our agenda and wrap up by discussing taking action to approve a resolution of your program, Mike, the 100% Hollywood Park sales tax, so that it's an official program that can be
Correct.
embraced by the EDC.
Correct, so that we can use it and, get connected. We can send it out as an official Hollywood parking. Also, just to let you know, Margaret Viorel has agreed to put a little brochure in the welcome packet regarding the sales tax issues regarding Hollywood Park. And the EDC has approved $3,000 for a direct mailing campaign. So I kind of like to make it official here. Before.
Yeah, because you know the council doesn't have to approve it because it's already been approved by the EDC, and so it's under $3,000. But they can't.
Well, what I mean is I want to make sure it's an official Hollywood Park campaign so that we're behind it. Okay.
That sounds good.
Would someone like to move that we approve the resolution on the 100%?
I move that we approve the resolution of the 100%.
Do I have a second?
I have a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the motion carries.
And before you close out the meeting, Mr. Mayor, we did not get to ask you any questions when it was your turn to speak, and I wanted to ask you if you would consider possibly summer hours for the council meetings, that we start at 6 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock, because during the summer months there's not a lot of traffic, kids are out of school, and I think a lot of us would appreciate these meetings starting at least an hour earlier.
Are you guys in favor of moving it up for a few months in the summer and seeing if that works? I think several of our groups.
I know it's not on the agenda, but I want him to at least bring it up so that we can vote on it.
I think it's a good idea.
No, I think it's a great idea. That doesn't mean we can.
All right.
Okay.
And Janice, and then the folks on our staff and department heads don't have to wait as long into the evening.
Right.
Is it your idea?
It's 6 o'clock.
Dude.
I think 6 o'clock. would
Beers
be a
are on me
good
tonight.
time. And well, that depends on the agenda. So it's our task to stay on the agenda, stay focused to it, and try to have everything.
Time for summer hours. What is that?
Summer hours, I would think.
An hour and a half, an hour.
January through December.
Oh, for how long? You mean through the year? Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I think once the kids get back, I would say at least to the August session. What do you think?
Let's try it.
September, October.
Yeah, let's
keep
try it.
doing it and see how it goes.
Let's try it going forward. But I need to get a decision from the council. There's a parade coming up for July 4th at 10 o'clock at Triangle Park. And we talked about it a little last year. Would the council like to, or be willing to ride with me in the golf cart in the parade? We'll have security. Is that out of the question?
I was curious if we could be Murph and the Magic Tones for the 4th of July parade.
No costume. Well, would you guys like to do that as a group?
Well, I think a golf cart is great, but wouldn't you like to have like a car from the dealership that, maybe a convertible?
Yeah.
Maybe something that,
Kelly, can you check on the shade for the convertible place?
You don't want to be seen with
brick red,
for you. To go walk
and then it falls off by accident.
What was your issue, Scott?
Oh, fine, be that way.
I think that happened last year at this time. Okay. Well.
We'll ride you with you. Plus one and plus two will ride with you.
Okay. Super. And Oscar?
Mercedes, pull the top down, and you can be in the back seat.
All right. We've got that worked out. Yay. This has been a productive meeting. We had a full agenda. Thank everyone for participating. And hey, let's do it. Thank you. Then I will say it is 9:23, and our
so
meeting
6
is
p.m. for sure. Then
6 p.m. Yes, ma'am.
And it would be 8:23.
This is a win all the way around.
Great idea.
Yay, thank you.
You know what? I work with the World Wildlife Federation.
Michael, thank you
during the summer months
for keeping things in order.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mr. Bailey.
At the Voight Center? Do your hearing aids? Do your hearing aids screw up in the Voight Center? Scott, thank you.